Okay, this meeting is now being recorded. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our January 21st Century Best Practices webinar. Today we have Deb Dunkhase, the Executive Director of Iowa Children's Museum, who will be presenting on the power of play. I'll turn it over to you, Deb.
Thanks so much, Indira, and good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm excited to talk to you today about the Iowa Children's Museum and how we incorporate STEM education into our organization. But before I talk about STEM, which I'm sure you're all eager to hear about, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Iowa Children's Museum so you understand a little better who we are and how we educate kids here at our organization. So we are located in the Coral Ridge Mall in Coralville, Iowa. We've been in existence since 1999, just about ready to celebrate our 15-year anniversary. And all the photos you see in the slides that I have today are taken of children playing and learning at the Iowa Children's Museum. So we'll begin. We exist to inspire every child to imagine, create, discover, and explore through the power of play. Okay. So what is the power of play? We abide by the philosophy that children are designed to play. Play is how kids learn to become adults. It's all about the creative flow and joyful activity that children so naturally engage in as they move through the earliest stages of life. Dr. Kenneth Ginsberg, who's a nationally recognized adolescent pediatrician, has stated that play is so vital to optimal human development that it has been recognized by the United Nations as a basic human need and right for every child. So let's think about that. It's a basic human need and right for every single child. Play is what kids do naturally as they grow up to become adults. The first years of a child's life are absolutely essential to future learning and healthy child development. I'm sure you've all heard all the research about hunters and gatherers tribes, and you know that the kids in those tribes, as they're developing, what those children play is they're mimicking the adults in their tribe, and they're mimicking hunting, and they're mimicking being a predator after their prey. So that's how kids learn to grow up and be adults. Play absolutely shapes the future of every single child today, as well as back in hunter and gatherer days. Valuing and supporting play in childhood may be the very best way for us to produce creative thinkers with the strong adaptive strategies that are needed to face the 21st century. When I grew up, you know, there was a cadre of careers or occupations you could go into. So you knew when you grew up you were going to be an engineer, you were going to be a teacher, you were going to be a nurse, you were going to be a doctor, you're going to be, you know, an insurance salesman, a car repair mechanic. There are very distinct occupations that you could go into. Today, we know that the kids that are graduating, that are in elementary school, ready to graduate in about 10 years, we don't even know what the occupations that they can choose from are going to be. Life is changing so quickly with advances in technology that kids can't really decide what they want to be when they grow up, when they're young. So we really need to build our kids, to help our kids become thinkers. So we may not be training them for very specific and motivated to solve problems using creativity and critical thinking skills. That's what we do here at the Children's Museum. We believe that play literally sculpts the brain, giving us the resources we need to meet the challenges we face in daily living. Play is the behavior that's evolved to make it possible to test new ideas and find out what works. Play bursts creativity, innovation, critical thinking, and maybe most importantly, a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. When we love to learn when we're young and we can help kids keep that on into their future, kids will have dynamic, changing futures. Sorry, I'm missing a photo here. But the need for adults to understand the vital role of play in cognitive and social development is urgent. We know that with so many kids' schedules that are overscheduled, they're registered for class after class after class, kids are losing free child-directed play time. Sadly, play is being sidelined in today's society, and the gap is widening between what we consider learning and what we consider play and its value. At the Children's Museum, we see play as not just setting the stage for learning, not nurturing learning, not looking like learning, but play absolutely is learning. So, now that you have some idea of how the Children's Museum interprets play, how we see play as a conduit to learning, as how kids learn naturally, how does play connect to STEM? Well, the active learning that occurs in play creates the context for kids to connect science, technology, engineering, and math to the real world. The photo you're seeing right now is from an aviation exhibit at the Children's Museum. And this young man is exploring how you've all heard of and are aware of the Governor STEM Advisory Council and the incredibly vigorous movement that's happening across the state of Iowa in STEM. In 2011, Governor Branstad formed the Governor STEM Advisory Council. It's a group of, a partnership really, of educators, both formal and informal, businesses, students, and families, and all across the state, hundreds of people that belong and are working with the Governor STEM Council are devoting themselves to advancing STEM in Iowa. And the goal of the STEM Advisory Council is really to increase Iowa student competencies across 4 vital disciplines. The first one is in science, the study of the nature of the universe. Second discipline is technology, applying information to the design of goods and services. Third one is in mathematics, the universal language of nature. And the final discipline is engineering, the application of knowledge for the benefits of humanity. So these are the 4 disciplines of STEM. When you think about STEM, the one thing, and we'll start with what is STEM not. STEM is not siloed. So when you think of STEM, you don't want to think of science by itself, math by itself, or technology engineering by themselves. STEM literacy really refers to an individual's ability to apply his or her understanding of how the world works within and across these 4 areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM doesn't simply mean achieving competency in these curricular areas individually, but rather STEM literacy refers to the ability by the early council in 2011. STEM is an interdisciplinary approach to learning where rigorous academic concepts are coupled with real-world lessons or problems. So this is the interesting part to me. So it's where the STEM disciplines connect with real-world problems as students apply their understandings of science, technology, engineering, and math in contexts that make connections between school, community, work, and a global enterprise, enabling the development of STEM literacy and with it the ability to compete in the new economy. And this piece to compete in the new economy is really important in Iowa right now. We are all as a state working hard to make So what we have done at the Iowa Children's Museum to interpret that charge from the Governor's STEM Advisory Council is we have incorporated STEM into many of our exhibits and programs. Actually, we've been doing that for years, but maybe not calling it STEM. Because, again, that's how kids naturally play, by integrating and working in context. The program I'm going to talk to you about today is one that we designed, I guess it's been 3 years ago. It's called the STEM Family Free Night. And it occurs the last Friday of every month from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. The program is sponsored by Rockwell Collins. They're our funding sponsor, and also get involved with some of the experiences, the active learning experiences. But we also involve a diverse array of community partners. We generally deliver the program to about 15,000 people annually. So as we design STEM Family Free Night, what we do is each program explores a different problem or challenge using science or math to help us better understand the problem, and engineering and technology to help us look for a solution to the problem. So to give you a very specific example, I'm gonna run you through one of my favorite STEM programs, and every month we do a different one. One of my very favorites is cavities. That's our real world problem or challenge. And one of the reasons we chose cavities is because it's so real to every child in every family. There are very few families who don't deal with cavities. There are very few kids out there, when you say cavities, they absolutely have a reaction to that. And generally, it's one that they don't want to go to the dentist and have a cavity fixed. So what we're going to look at is what causes cavities and how can they be prevented. That's our challenge. So when people walk into the Children's Museum for their free admission night, they are told right up front, this is what we're doing tonight. Be sure to check it out and have fun. This is how we organize the program. So you can see that our challenge is cavities. We're going to first try to get an understanding of cavities. So we're going to use science to help increase our content knowledge of how tooth enamel decays. We're going to experiment with Coke and hard-boiled eggs to help us understand bacteria and acid. We're going to use math to compare the sugar content of different foods, and then we're going to graph the results of the information that we have found. Now, all of these activities, because we want to make sure that people understand that these are all integrated under the bigger theme of cavities, we turn our art studio into a STEM studio. So the physical space is somewhat close. We can generally work with about 50 or 60 kids at a time, and they'll just rotate through the STEM studio all night long. So by doing these two explorations in science and math, we help kids gain a better understanding of why cavities are caused in the first place. The next step is how do we prevent cavities? So we have an engineering activity where kids actually are given toothbrushes, brand new toothbrushes, and we have a huge sink in the studio. So they are asked to use the toothbrush, some toothpaste, and brush their teeth. And really pay close attention to how that toothbrush feels, and do you think your teeth are cleaner? They're asking them to design a better toothbrush than the one they're using. So that's the engineering. The technology, and this is something when we talk about technology that we really try to help kids understand, that technology is absolutely all of the computers and iPads and all of the computer technology that exists out there, but it's also technology is a tool. So we're looking Technology Center, helping kids examine and look at tools. We also bring a career connection into each of our STEM Family Free Nights. And the career connection is where these local partners come in. And we think this really helps give ownership to the program, brings more people to the program, and more connections to the real world. So when we do Cavity Night at the museum, we invite the University of Iowa Pediatric School of Dentistry students to for all the kids who attend that night. So you can see it's kind of a big, complete picture. So I'm going to give you a little more detail now on each of the separate disciplines. So when we look at science to help us understand the problem of cavities, very specifically we're looking at how does what you eat or drink affect whether or not you'll get a cavity. And the exploration consists of eggshells and tooth enamel are both made of the same stuff, the same materials, calcium carbonate. Setting it in the context of the STEM studio, though, really makes it STEM and not science alone or siloed. So you can see in the photos that we have soaked eggs in coffee, tea, and their kids, adults and kids, investigated the results both visually, and they were able to physically touch the eggs and draw conclusions about the effects of sugar and acids on tooth enamel. I'm going to share with you just a couple responses from the people in the STEM studio who did the science exploration. There were many, many adults and I'm actually sitting here drinking coffee, who will say that I'm never drinking coffee again when they see the incredible stain that happens on an eggshell and translate that to the same effect happening on their tooth. And then there were lots of kids who wondered why the orange juice shell feels scratchy. So this is great when kids can create their own questions from a science exploration, something that they can do a little more exploration about at home or later in the museum. Once we've done the science, kids will go over to the math station and use math to try to understand how much sugar is in the foods they eat causing the cavities. So what we did is we set up a station where kids use sugar cubes to represent the different amounts of sugar contained in various foods and drinks. And you can see a young child examining an orange, and we have our educators there to help kids understand how much sugar is in an orange and use math calculation to translate that to a sugar cube. And then we also compared the amount of tooth-healthy food a person could eat to ingest the same amount of sugar as one sugary food. So you can see 1 bottle of Coke equals lots and lots of carrots. Hostess Twinkies, again, you can eat a lot of carrots instead of Hostess Twinkies. So we really tried to help kids understand the value of good choices in sugar when they're looking at food or drink. For the technology piece, this is where the kids worked with the College of Dentistry students to explore basic dental tools, and the students actually taught the kids how to use the toothbrushes to have the best cavity-preventing brushing techniques. We use engineering. This is where kids would actually use the toothbrushes to brush their own teeth. Prior to that, we did have ceramic tiles that had been previously stained with coffee, and we had kids use toothbrushes and toothpaste to try to clean the stain off the coffee. This was to help them compare this to what happens in the real world. Now they brush their teeth and clean their teeth with a toothbrush. Now they're stimulated to design a new toothbrush, to engineer a new design that would be the best cavity-fighting toothbrush. And this is an example of what one child did. His drawing says, or her, that his toothbrush has many brushes, so somehow he thinks that more brushes are going to get your teeth cleaner, which is a good conclusion, and it's easy to hold. Now that was really important to this child when they were going through the engineering process, because they had the personal experience of brushing their teeth immediately before they designed the toothbrush. Next, we do have a career connection to every STEM Family Free Night that we create. And again, this is to help kids connect it to the real world and hopefully stimulate them to think about going into a STEM career themselves and to maybe better understand that STEM literacy is really, really important to so many diverse careers out there. So on our program night, we actually had dental students in the STEM studio as well as upstairs in our party rooms, and they were giving kids dental screenings and the free fluoride treatments. So you can see the kids observing the dental students using tools to do the dental examinations. So, in conclusion for this night, we investigated the problem of cavities with STEM, and some of the things that kids learned is that the science piece is that acid eats tooth enamel, making the holes we call cavities. The technology piece is that we have specially designed tools that are used to clean our teeth to help make sure the acid doesn't stay on our teeth to cause cavities. The engineering piece is that toothbrushes have very special designs to make them or help them, enable them to remove the most acid-making bacteria from our teeth. The bacteria that make the acid-eating or the enamel-eating acid. And of course, we had the tooth fairy come. You can't have a cavity night at a children's museum without the tooth fairy being there. And really, this is just a fun piece for kids, but it is all about getting kids engaged in learning. We really believe that that play element is critical to getting kids' minds and bodies and emotions engaged in whatever the topic at hand is. So the tooth fairy wandered around all night talking to kids about what they were learning in the STEM studio and giving out free toothbrushes. We did perform a bit of evaluation, and we do this every time we do a STEM Family Free Night. Now we have the kids for probably anywhere from 15 to about 30 minutes in the STEM studio. And we go through, we have about 1,200 people that visit that night, that program. So you don't have a lot of time to spend with kids gathering formal evaluations. So what we've done, and we've done this with other informal programs at the Children's Museum, it seems to work really well, is we set up, we gather information before kids go into the STEM studio, so before they engage in the STEM activities, and we talk to them when they come out of the STEM studio after engaging. Now again, the data is not connected to unique individuals. We gather this on butcher paper, kids are given stickers, and they answer 3 questions. I view myself as a scientist. I think science, technology, engineering, math are interesting to learn about. And the last one is, when I grow up, I'd like to have a job related to STEM. So what we do is we give kids stickers. They're able to place their sticker on an area that says no, maybe, or yes. And you can see from the yeses that in this particular program, kids are very engaged in seeing themselves as scientists. It looks like about 58%. Looks like about 76% or so think that STEM is interesting to learn about. And then it goes down a little bit to maybe like 62 or 3% think they might like to have STEM careers when they go up. This is before they go into the STEM studio, before they do any of the engaging activities that we've designed for them. When they come out of the studio, they get another sticky dot to put on the butcher paper, a different set of butcher paper, and now they're going to answer the same exact 3 questions, and we're going to see if there's any movement. And you can see when you compare the blue to the purple in each of these questions, you can see that there's certainly movement, that there's certainly an increase in interest and the idea of perhaps going into STEM when they grow up. So we translate that to say to us that this is working, we're engaging students, and we're help building interest and enthusiasm for STEM. And this is just from one STEM night. This is from one particular program. As we've accumulated the evaluations, and we've done this now we're going on 2 years, as we've accumulated this, we see these jumps getting a little bit higher. So that's the evaluation piece that we do. As we plan these, I've given you some examples of the STEM programs that we do throughout the year. So we do a different one every month, and I'll just show you some of the examples. We won't go through all of them. One topic is financial literacy. We work with our local credit union. If you were going to replicate this in other communities, you could certainly work with banks, math educators. Hearing loss is a big challenge that we think is really important. So that's one of our challenges for a STEM problem. We work, because we are very fortunate to have the University of Iowa Wendell Johnson Speech and Hearing Clinic. Those staff and students come in to help us with that particular program. But certainly, if locally there are hospitals, medical professionals, and area education agencies that could help you develop it. Germs is one of my favorite ones too. So we do a night called, our STEM Family Free Night is called Germs, the Good, the Bad, the Ugly. And we work with the University of Iowa Hygienics Lab to help us better understand germs and how not all germs are a negative thing. Some germs are really helpful in helping people build their immune systems. If you don't have the University of Iowa Hygienics Lab, again, biology educators, hospital, medical professionals could certainly come in and help you tie it to the real world. And then I'm going to jump all the way down to World Hunger. The Iowa Children's Museum, as part of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council, has a subcommittee called the Active Learning Community Partners. And if anyone listening is an informal after-school group, this is an organization of which you can become a part. And we held a retreat and a conference last year helping us develop our abilities to deliver best practices in STEM education and programs. The conference we held in October focused on world hunger. Local company, and with our local co-op, New Pioneer Co-op, which is a health food store. Certainly there are lots of local farmers or in Iowa seed companies, lots and lots of partners to help work on a world food hunger STEM project at your organization. So those are just some examples of some of the partnerships that we have done throughout the year. And we do have programs developed in all of these. And I will say that we're very, very willing to share if somebody else wants to try to replicate what we're doing. And actually, when we designed these STEM Family Free Nights, we designed them so they could be replicated throughout Iowa and any other organization. Just very quickly, we have tied all of our programs to the National Science Education Content Standards. They're not tied yet to Next Gen. We'll wait and see. We'll wait till those are approved. And they are tied to Iowa Core. So every one of these programs are tied to standards and core curriculum. I mentioned that when people come into the museum, we give them a heads up and tell them what we're going to be doing this particular STEM Family Free Night. We actually create a bookmark. We print it ourselves. This is just an example of one we did. And the bookmark, I personally stand at the door. I'm kind of like a Walmart greeter because we're really committed to helping the general population better understand the importance of STEM in their kids' lives and in their lives. So when people come in, I give them a STEM Family Free Night bookmark, thank our sponsors, mention which was what makes you unique. So we're going to look at DNA and why DNA is important to people. So we're going to break out again the science, technology, engineering, and math and do specific activities related to DNA. So everyone has the bookmark to take home. And this particular night, another partner we had was Mutual of Omaha, who came in and did free fingerprinting for kids. So at the Iowa Children's Museum, all of our STEM exhibits and programs, not just the one I shared with you, but all of them are designed to help inspire kids to become STEM literate so that they're able to make informed decisions about a future that impacts each and every one of us. You know, and it's not, we don't feel that STEM education is just to help kids be trained and develop an interest to go into a STEM career, but we know that these three young girls are going to be voting in years to come. They're going to make personal decisions that impact the environment and impact resources. So it's really important for kids to become STEM literate. Our mission is to inspire every child to believe that they can solve the challenges of the future with their creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. We want to empower kids to believe that they can find the answers, that they're not just sitting and waiting for someone else to fix the problems. We believe kids to be powerful and competent thinkers, planners, dreamers, and doers, inspiring the museum to design programs and active learning environments that allow kids to demonstrate these rich capacities through the power of play. So not only is STEM education critical to the education of every single child, but it is also sweet, awesome fun. And that concludes my presentation. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions.
If you have any questions for Deb, you can either ask them on the conference line or feel free to type them into this chat box on the screen. We have one person typing.
Okay, and while Kim is typing in a question, I will mention too that we have designed all of these programs. We have a solid, I think about 14 different programs developed. We don't necessarily have them packaged ready to send out to share, but we're certainly willing to share this program with anyone in the state who's interested in replicating it. And I personally would be really interested in helping people figure out how you could take the cavities one or the world hunger one and translate that into your own community. So if anyone wants a little more help with that or our resources, our materials, we'd be certainly willing to give that.
Great. We have a couple of people typing now.
Okay. So do the sponsors continually rotate from Kim? Thanks, Kim. It is a great program. We love doing it. And what we've done is Rockwell Collins sponsored the entire Family Free Night for 3 years. So that helps subsidize the cost of admission. Certainly doesn't replace it. It's part of our commitment to give free admission to get people here. It draws about 1,200 people monthly, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200. So not only do we have the 3-year commitment from Rockwell, but one of the reasons we go out and get those monthly community partners that are different is so that we can solicit sponsorship from them. And it could be, the sponsorship could be volunteers, it could be experts to come in and help us deliver the programming. It can also be funding. So if you're looking at maybe how the body works as one of the programs, and you can get a local hospital or a doctor's office to give you funding to help sponsor the night, that is why we look for different sponsors monthly. So yes, we do get different sponsors every month, as well as keep Rockwell for the entire year. So hopefully that answered your question. Tricia, is that the next one? I'm interested in looking at your resources. Perfect. So why don't you just email me, Tricia, when sometime after the conference call or the webinar is over, and I'd be happy to set up a time to help you look at the resources that we have. And then Brittany, yep, absolutely. I'll keep your email and send you information about the program. My contact information, somehow, Indira, can you make sure that everybody gets my email?
Yes, we can post it here in the chat box too here in just a second.
Yeah. Yep, great. I'd love to meet with anybody who wants to talk about doing it. And I was actually just talking with Indira about doing a presentation about this at the April...
At the Impact After School Conference?
At the After School Conference. So maybe we could actually set up something at that conference to share more information about the programming so people can replicate it.
Mm-hmm. Great idea.
Okay. Let's see. Brittany, is there a hub for this program in Dubuque? To my knowledge, and certainly this is not copyrighted or anything like that, this program. We just developed it here at the museum because we thought it would work and we wanted to pilot it and test it. So I don't think anyone else is doing it. I'm not aware of anyone in Dubuque, Iowa doing it. But Dubuque is pretty close, Brittany. Maybe you could pop over and actually see one of our family free nights. And then we can talk about trying to get it into Dubuque. Thanks, Vic. Appreciate the that you are online. Yep, and it looks like Indira just added my contact info to everyone. Well, since it sounds, Indira, like several people are maybe interested in replicating this in some shape or form in their organization, I will work really hard to make sure I'm involved in the After School Alliance Conference in April, and we'll see if we can do a more formal sharing of resources at that time.
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure.
It would be an in-person, face-to-face opportunity for
materials for STEM. So where can you get more materials for STEM? So are you looking, Brittany, for specific programs or just, it sounds like that's probably what you're looking for, is program ideas or actual physical materials? And while you're answering that, because I can see, yes, so maybe both. Today, the Governor STEM Advisory Council, Active Learning Community Partners, not today, but tomorrow, actually has a committee meeting. The planning group for that committee is meeting tomorrow. So I will bring this to that committee, that materials for STEM is something that, you know, organizations are interested in. And I think we know that. We know that providing a hub, a central hub, for where people can get program ideas, program resources, STEM program partners, all of that is important to everyone. So it's something we're working on. And I think going through the Iowa After School Alliance is probably a really good way for us to share resources, but what I can tell you maybe is more to come. I think, Indira, someone's still typing, is that?
Yep, we have one more person typing here.
You know, we know, and while she's finishing, okay, hold on.
So she
I'm
says,
a summer program coordinator, and our theme is Fizz Bang Boom. Great title. And I'm looking for materials, so that sounds great. Okay, so maybe we can talk more about all of this in April. And it'd be really fun if Brittany is designing a Fizz Bang Boom. Maybe we could work together at an April workshop to help design what the program and materials would look like for Fizz Bang Boom. I'm assuming that's a chemistry STEM program. I guess the one thing we know for sure is that there are hundreds of organizations, informal after-school STEM providers. And what we're trying to do with the STEM active learning community partners is find a way for us to share resources. So if one person identifies a great resource, and if you consider our STEM Family Free Night a great resources, we're willing to share it. We just have to find a vehicle so that we can share resources. So that is what the Active Learning Community Partners Group is working on, is finding the best way for us to share resources. I will make sure that everybody who has joined in today, and I'm sure Indira will continue to gather emails and people's names and contact info, I'll make sure that you all get on the STEM Active Learning Community Partners. It's a mouthful. That you get on our contact list, and everything that we do, we'll make sure that you stay.
Don't have it, and I'll save the chat history, that way we can get a list of emails.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
And Kim just shared something.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a website called millionwomenmentors.org. Great, thanks, Kim. Yes, Don, so this webinar is being recorded and we'll post it on the 21st Century Wiki as always. We'll also post it on our YouTube website.
The one other idea for STEM resources too, as part of the Governor STEM Advisory Council, you're probably all aware that the state of Iowa has been divided into 6 STEM regional networks. And if you get on Google Governor STEM Advisory Council, you'll get on that website. And there are opportunities, there are STEM scale-up programs happening across the state. We're in year 2 of that. And there are STEM scale-up programs happening in your region. Every single community is part of a region that has a STEM hub manager. Oh, there you go, iowastem.gov. And those scale-up STEM programs are available for everyone. Our Children's Museum actually applied to our local regional STEM hub and got the funding to bring a scale-up program called Camp in a Can to the Great. Okay, it looks like that might be it.
Yeah, so I'll leave the line open here for just a couple of additional minutes so that people can type in their emails, and I will